This is Gemara Rosh HaShanah Daf Chof Gimel as we conclude this month of Cheshvan. All the learning should be a tremendous chos ilin nishmasa for Rav Moshe ben Rav Chaim HaLevi. The learning the entire Chabura day by day, daf by daf, should be a tremendous chos ilin nishmasa. As well as all the learning should be a chos shidduch Rosh HaChaim in the version Merim Basri is a Giddush and Lesb Shana Makil and Mordechai and the Mashina Sigdur Bas Avashendel. As well as the chos for Rosh Hashem Shmuel Yisben and the Yefeda Pesach Yinom and Simak Zelda. And many men think of Chaim Mesach Shem Simon Eiz Azor Baskanati Basim with Chaisai Yisrael Mental Levs Petr Shalei Shomas Namim Shafir Shechano Shmo Ben Til Din Mechan Rizim Chai Basino Din Edom Hashem Mental Sivim Peg Veron Nechel Son Tel Huver Kvot Hashem Tzim Echlaster At least Velo Bas Leia Saratel Besoich Sha'ar Chayli Yisrael. We pick it up on the bottom of Chav Beis Mid Beis. We began yesterday the mission on the bottom that dealt with the fascinating process that after they made a new month, they were Makadesh new month. How do they tell everyone about it? So we know they sent out messengers, but really there was original process. The original process was they had a whole torch lighting ceremony from mountain to mountain to mountain, but then the Kusim got involved, messed things up, and they had it start sending out shluchim. So says the Gemara on the bottom of Chav Beis Mid Beis, beginning the Gemara 5 lines from the bottom. My masha demasiyin lishna dikuru. First, we deal with the technical point. How do we know that the word masiyin, as the Mishnah said, originally they were masiyin masois? How do we know that that word means that they lit the torch? Explains the Gemara. The Chsev, the pasuk says 4 lines to the bottom. Vayisoim David va'anashav. Vayisoim, David and his people. What is Vayisoim? Targaminan v'ukidin in David. And the Targum, the Uncles says, and David burnt them. Important to learn Uncles, so those who know, because that's how we get good translation. Says the Gemara, let's continue about the lighting of these torches. The only time they light the torches is when a new moon was seen in the right time. To announce the new month. And when do they do this? Explains this brisa. La'ar iburai, to the night following the Iber. The night following the Iber, which of course it sounds a little bit complicated, so let's just let Rashi explain before we get confused. Says Rashi in the last hour line, Le'erev Yom Shleishim Nigi Lamed Aleph. The night of the 30 before the 31st, that night after day 30 before day 31, that's when they were light the torches in order to conclude that day 31 is Rosh Chodesh, in order to make day 30 the final day of the previous month. Says the Gemara, Lamemra, what does this seem to say? The Achsar Ivdinan Amalei Lo Avdinan. Says the Gemara, what does this seem to teach us? That for a chaser avdinan, that's when we light the torches. That when do we light the torches? Only when the previous month is lacking a day. When it's 29 days and day 30 is going to be Rosh Chodesh. Day 30 is going to be the first day of the new month. However, amalei lo avdinan. But for a full month, when the previous month is full, when it's a full 30 days, then, and Rosh Chodesh is not till day 31, we do not light the torches. My time, what's the reason? I'm Rav Zera, Gezera, Mishom, Rosh Chodesh Chaser Shachal Liyois Erev Shabbos. In a month that we have a Rosh Chodesh Chaser 29-day month on Erev Shabbos. Emaz Avdi. When are they going to do the whole torch waving ceremony? Ba'afuke Shabbata. What are you going to tell me after Shabbos? So what's going to come out? Let's say that they always wave the torches both on a Chaser and a Mali, both on a 29-day month and a 30-day month. Again, waving on day 30 to show that day 29 was the previous month and day 30 is Rosh Chodesh, or waving on day 30 to 31, showing that day 30 was the previous month and day 31 is the new month. So if they would do it also on Malay, what's going to happen as we turn over to today's Daf, Chav Gimel Amud Aleph, Asi Lamite, they're going to come to make a mistake. Amri, they're going to say, Hi Chasu. They're going to be waving these torches on Motzei Shabbos, and they're going to say, maybe the previous month was Chaser, and therefore Friday was day 30. That's when they said Rosh Chodesh. And 1 second, why do they wave the torch? Because it's impossible, because it was Shabbos. Or maybe people are going to be confused. They're not going to sure what's going on. Or maybe the previous month is a Mali. And it's the right time. So says the Gemara, because of that concern, they would only light the torches if the previous month was Chaser, not if the previous month was Mali. If the previous month was a 29-day month, then we'll light the torch on day 30, showing that day 30 is the Rosh Chodesh. But if the previous month is a 30-day month, we do not light the torch on day 31. Asks the Gemara, 1 second, do both And then what? And Rosh Chodesh falls in Erev Shabbos. Then don't do anything. And then beautiful process of elimination. We didn't do anything on Friday night. We didn't do anything on Motzei Shabbos. Excuse me. Normally they wave the torches on a malay, and therefore everyone will know it's chaser. So why don't we wave the torches both on malay and on chaser? Explains the Gemara. We're going to come to make a mistake. Amri, they're going to say, "Hi mali, really it is a mali." If it's really a malay, so what's going on? Why didn't they wave the torches? They're going to think it was an aynes. So because of that issue, we only do in a chaser. Ask the Gemara further. Will you have it on malay? Will you have it on chaser? So why don't we only do on the malay, not on the chaser klal? Because it's going to cause people to not work for 2 days. Because people are not going to work for 2 days. Why are people not going to work for 2 days? Let's take one moment to look at Rashi. Rashi is about 7 lines into the narrow lines. Explains Rashi. Let's say you only wave the torches for the malay. Rosh HaShanah. Every year Rosh HaShanah they're going to have 2 days without malacha. Yom Lamed on day 30. Shema Yom Rishayna. Maybe today's Rosh HaShanah they just don't know about it. V'Yom Lamed Aleph. Shema Ibras HaChodesh. Maybe the previous day. V'Yom Rosh HaShanah. Maybe tamali a 30-day month. Day 31 is Rosh HaShanah. Avol ki avdina masay zachaser la'or Yom Lamed. When we light the torches on a chaser la'or to the night of day 30, like we had at the beginning of Psachim, that word or yadi, they're going to know. Shebiyoim shleishim nikbu v'yasu malacha l'machar. They're going to know on day 30 is Rosh Hashanah, and we'll be able to do malacha tomorrow, and we'll not be mevatel 2 days. That's the reason they wave the torches on the 29-day month and not on a 30-day month. On the 29-day month at night, they wave the torches so everyone knows that's it, the previous month finished. Tomorrow, day 30, is Rosh Chodesh, is the first day of the new month. However, on a mali, on a full month, on day 30 at night, we do not wave the torches before the next night, and that is the first part of today's shiur, first part of the daf, showing us that we only wave the torches when they would wave the torches on a chaser, not a malay. I just want to point out, I think when we read that original Rashi, we read it a little incorrectly, but now it's very clear. On a chaser, we wave the torches. On a malay, we do not wave the torches. We went through all the different permutations. Why don't we do both? Why don't we just do malay? At the end of the day, we cannot do that, either because people will make a mistake, or because we don't want an extra day of non-work. Rather, we wave the torches on the chaser, not on the malay. Says the Gemara, how do they wave the torches? Says they brought these long cedar wood and they wrapped the tops, etc. Says the Gemara, 12 lines down, 2 dots. There are 4 types of erez wood. Erez kitroim eis shemen ubroish. The Gemara now explains. Kartam, what is this wood called? Katroim amarav adra. There's going to be a lot of these today. Adra, the Rei Rav Shila Amri Mavliga. It was a different type of wood called Mavliga. Va'Amri Lo, and some say Zu Gomish. This is Gomish wood. Now another Rishan. Obliga de Rav Ravuna. The argument Rav Ravuna. Dam Rav Ravuna. Amri Be Rav. Asara Mine Arazimin. There are 10 types of Eresh and Emar, as the pasuk teaches us. Etin Bamidbar. I'm going to give in the desert. Ereshita Vadas V'Ichemin Asim Barava. I'm going to put in the Arava Baruch Tidar V'Sashar Yachtov. Now I know I stopped counting purposely because now the Gemara is going to go through. It wasn't clear in the pasuk which one of those words were cedar trees and which one were regular words. Now the Gemara explains. Erez Arza. Erez is the cedar. Shita Ternisa. That's the Ternisa, which is a pine tree. Hadas is Asa, the myrtle tree. Eitz is Shemen. The balls Shemen Afarsama is the balsam tree. Baroish is Barata. That is boxwood. Tidar is Shaga. Tashar is Serbina. So that is 7. Says the Gemara. Hani Shiva. That's only 7. How do you get the other 3? Because we said there are 10. They added on Olin Almunim and Almugim. Olinim is Botmi, Almunim is Beluti, and Almugim is Ksita. And Ikadi Amri, there are some that say the different 3 names. Arunim, Armunim, Almugim. Arunim is Ari, Amunim is Dulvi, and Almunim is Ksita. And those are the 10 different types of cedar trees. Now, once we're on the topic almost of getting these big pieces of wood, etc., we get into a fascinating story. Says the Gemara, "V'tzei adir lo ya'avranu," and a mighty ship cannot cross it. This is referring to la'asid lavai, that there's going to be a tremendous river that comes out of the Beis HaMikdash, and the water is going to flow so fast that you're not going to be able to cross it over. Those that were together with us in the Gemara and Yuma, we already dealt with this. Amar Rav explains, Zu Berni Gedola. This is a tremendous ship. This is a tremendous ship. Heichi Abdi. So how would they cross over this tremendous, how they cross over the water? Maisi Shit Alfi Gabri. They would bring 6,000 men, but Tracy Archishata for 12 months' time. Va'amrila, and some say Tracy Alfi Gabri, 12,000 men, Shiti Archishata for 6 months. V'tanule Chala, and they would load up the ship with sand. They would push sand in this massive boat, the Shechli V'nachas Bar, until it would settle down and sit on the floor, Amaroi, of the sea bed. What would be next? Qatar atuni dekisna. Then they would tie ropes of flax, bekisna, bekisita, vekatar lubisvinta. They would tie these ropes of flax to the boat. Vekatar lubisvinta tied to the boat. V'natle chala. And then after they weighed down this boat with all the sand, then they tied up the boat. Now they would start taking off the sand and casting it overboard. So now the boat would start rising. And as the ship would rise, what would happen? It would pull out the coral from the seabed and would bring up the coral to the surface. And the coral was so valuable, each measure of coral was equal to 2 measures of silver. Tlas parvata. There were 3 ports. Tarti Havon. Tarti Be'armai, 2 in Armai, V'chada Dvei Pasyai, and 1 is in Persia. Dvei Armai, Maskin Kisita. The one in Armai, they would bring up the coral. Dvei Parsia, Maskin Marganita. They would bring up pearls. Umekaryan Parvasa de Meashik. And it was called the Parvasa de Meashik, the port of the kingdom. A fascinating story how they got this coral out of the ground. Each and every shita tree, each and every pine tree they took from Yerushalayim, when the Goyim took all these trees, Hashem is going to bring them back. Shenamar, as the Apostle says, I do Midbar Ereshita, I'll put in the wilderness Ereshita, Ve'in, Midbar El Yerushalayim, and Midbar refers to Yerushalayim, Shenamar Tzia, and Midbar Hayasa. Ve'omer Rav Yechon, Kolaloi Mei Taira, and once we're on the theme where they got it to the Gemara, it gives a bit tangential and says, Kolaloi Mei Taira, Ve'inam Malam, then you don't teach anyone else. Taima Lahadas. You are like a myrtle by midbar in the desert, meaning you're a myrtle, you're beautiful, you're fragrant, but you're not helping anyone else. Some say a little bit different. You teach others when there's no one else. There's no Tamid Chachamim, then you're like an Adas in the desert, the Chaviv, which is beautiful, which is precious, even though there's no one else, you're stepping up to the plate. Woe is to the Gayim. She'ein lam takana, they have no way to help themselves. They persecute Jews, and what's going to happen? Shenemar, as the Apostle says, from the copper I'm going to bring silver, v'tachas barzel. Avi kesef, from the iron I'm going to bring silver. Tachas ha'etzim, the chayshes, from the wood I'm going to bring copper. Tachas ha'avonim barzel. Tachas Rav Akiva v'chaveirov, in exchange for Rav Akiva and his friends that they persecuted and killed. My mevian ba'aleim u'oimer v'nekesi damam loy nikesi, and they will never be cleansed from the terrible deed that which they did. And that is the end of this interesting and fascinating Gadata that we got involved. Because once we said the cedar trees, these tremendous trees that they tied on the flax and the stuff on top to wave when they would be Makadosh New Moon, we got into tangential discussion. How many different types of cedar trees? Were there 4? Were there 10? This fascinating story with the boat, they pulled up the coral off the ground, and concluding with teaching Torah when there's no one else. And now says the Gemara in the last line of Chav Gimel Amud Aleph, quoting the Mishnah. We went through the whole list of mountains that they waved these torches. My base built in, says the Gemara. What is base built in? Rav says Rav, as we turn over to Chav Gimel Amud Beis, Zu Biram. This is a place called Biram. My Goyla, what does Goyla mean? Rav Yosef Zu Pumbedisa refers to Pumbedisa. My kid, what did the Mishnah mean when it said that the entire diaspora, the entire coast was Kimaduras Ish, like a bonfire? Tana explains the Mishnah. Once these 4 mountains were lit up, then everyone would take a torch and go onto his roof and wave it. So now the entire Golos looked like it was on fire. Absolutely beautiful. Tanya Rav Shimon ben Elazar, Rav Charim V'Kir V'Gadar V'Chavrusel. So Rav Shimon ben Elazar explains there are other mountains that they also lit up. Charim Avadim Kayar Geder and Chavreisai. Some say Beni Ubeni Avi Kaimi. Some say that these mountains were in between the mountains in the Mishnah. Whereas some actually no, they weren't in between. Rather, they were on the other side of Eretz Yisrael. Mar Chashiv, the High Gisa, Mar Chashiv, the High Gisa, Bim Machlek is where these places were. And Amar Rav Yechanan explains Rav Yechanan being Kolachas V'achas Shvena Parsais. Between each mountain were 8 parsais. That's the maximum distance you're going to see from one mountain to the next. Kamei Havilu. Says the Gemara. So the 5 different mountains, how much distance is that? 32 parsais. Ask the Gemara 1 second. But nowadays it's much larger between Har Hazeisim and Beis Baltin, which are the places in the Mishnah. So how can you tell me these 5 places were 8 parsais in between 32 in a total? Now we see it's much more. Amar Abaya, Estatume, Estatum Lehu, Drachi. Says Abaya, there used to be direct roads and they have been messed up. The Chsiv, as the Pasuk says, the way, the road will be messed up with thorns. Twisted paths. So in reality, it was 32 parsais between the distances. Because it's no longer direct paths, it seems like it is further. Says the Gemara on Chav Gimel Amid Beis. Now we're going to get into how Bezdin accepts the Eidim when they come to testify about the new moon. Says the Mishnah, there was a great courtyard they set up in Yerushalayim. Beis Yazak Isa Nikris. It was called Beis Yazak, which Gemara will say, what does this word Yazak mean? Ulisham kol Eidim Wisconsin, in that place all the Eidim would gather together. Bezdin Boitkin Isam, and Bezdin would check them over there. Sham Usudas Gedalei says them. They make a great party. Bishvel Sheiregilim Lavai. They wanted everyone to come and give Eidim. So what do? You want Jews to come? You make a big party. Very shine in the beginning. Originally, they made all the Eidim who came. They would not be allowed to move from this courtyard the entire day. Hizkin Rav Gamliel Azakin Jay Malchan Abayim. Rav Gamliel said too much. You can't hold people in one area for a whole day, even if there's food. Rather, let them walk 2,000 amos. Chol ruach. And not only these, Ela Av Chachama. Now the Mishnah extends. This is not only a din about Kiddush HaChodesh, but also a Chachama, midwife, Abal Yali that comes to give birth, V'Abal Hatam and Atleika, someone who comes to save from a fire, Min Agilas, from an beating army, Min Anar, from a river, Min Amapolis, from a falling wall, Hare Elu Kanchi Yair, they get the tchum of the people of that city, V'Yishlam Apayim L'chol Ruach, and they get 2,000 amos in every direction. Of course, this is a further application of what we saw yesterday, that we have to give a bit more liberty because we don't want people to stop coming. So we saw in the Mishnah the progression that first of all they made a party, second of all Rav Gamliel extended letting them to go further, and similarly the midwife, etc., all these people that we need them. We need the firefighter, we need the person that's going to save from the river, we need the midwife, so we allow them a bit more liberty and we're more mikol on turn Hilchos Shabbos so that they continue coming. Says the Gemara, Ibaylu Beis Yazak Tanan or Beis Yazak Tanan. What was the word? Tanan, and now we explain. Beis Yazak Tanan, Lishna Ma'alyu, was with an ayin, which is a good lashon d'chsev, Vaizaku, Vaisalku. Beis Yazak with an ayin is a positive expression because it says that he cleared away the fence. So meaning was this place called Yazak, it was a beautiful corridor with a fence. Oh, no, Beis Yazak Tanan, Lishna Tzairu. It's a lashon showing you that they were in pain, they were confined in one area, D'chsev, Vu'aser Ba'azika. Amar Abayis, Abayis says, I'll tell you what it is. Tashim HaSudas K'nei Yisrael Sham. Says Abai, they made a big party. So obviously it was a positive thing. So don't tell me they felt confined because they made a massive party. He says the Gemara 1 second. How do you know? Maybe it was both, meaning maybe they felt confined, and as well, they made a big party. The fact that they made a big party does not mean necessarily they made confined. And in truth, we saw that from the continued in the Mishnah, how Rav Gamliel allowed them more of a liberty to travel 2,000 amos, even once they had the parties, so that they would keep on coming. And now we have another Mishnah, Chav Gimel Beis, that continues the process. How they check them? The first group to come, they would check them first. They would bring the greater of the group. They would tell him, Emar, tell us, how did you see the new moon? Was it before the sun or after the sun? The slave or the drama? North or south? How high did it appear? Where direction was it pointing? How wide was it? If the 8 says in front of the sun, meaningless, we throw them out. They're bringing the second aid. If they both said the same thing, a duzan kayamis, they have a good aidis, and now we merkadish new moon. But we have a problem. What about all the people who are waiting? We had this huge courtyard, everyone's waiting to give aidis, but we already got our aidim, we already know it's Rosh Chodesh. We don't just send them home. We ask them questions. Some basic questions. Not because we really need them. Again, another time we're seeing this, the third time. We don't want them to leave dejected. We want people to keep on coming. So again, the third thing that we're doing for them, we made parties, we allowed them to walk around. Now, what else? We let people go home. Now, we let them keep on going even when we know it's done. Now, what do we see as well? We ask them questions. We want them to feel wanted so that in the future they will continue coming. And we'll pick up from the Gemara, Mir Hashem, tomorrow.